You didn't lose them. He removed them, not to punish you, but to position you, because isolation is sometimes the language of the anointing. Some of you feel like you've been exiled from your own life. Conversations that once felt warm now echo with distance. Rooms that used to light up when you entered now dim when you arrive. People you once called family now look at you like a stranger. And the strange part is, you didn't change, but heaven did. You've been asking, God, why am I always the one left behind? What if the silence around you is not abandonment, but a sacred summons? What if what feels like rejection is actually divine redirection? This is not obscurity. This is preparation. Before God ever brings you before people, He will separate you from them. Welcome to Chosen One Sanctuary. This is not just a video. It's a scroll opening. It's a call to come out of the crowd and walk with God alone. When God called Abraham, He said, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you." Before elevation comes separation. Before the promise comes the pruning. You're not walking alone because something is wrong with you. You're walking alone because something is right with you, and incompatible with where you've been. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to hear might not just explain your season, it might awaken your entire assignment. The scroll has been unsealed. Let's begin. Marked in mystery, the divine isolation of the chosen. You were marked long before you were wounded. Before the rejection, before the silence, before the tearing away, there was already a signature on your spirit. It was heaven's mark, etched into your existence not with ink, but with fire. You didn't choose this path. It was whispered over your life before your first breath. That's why you never fully belonged. Why your laughter always had a shadow. Why your joy never felt quite safe. The chosen ones are not chosen because they are perfect. They are chosen because they are separated. And with that separation comes an ache. Unmistakable, holy, and relentless. It's the ache of divine distinction. David felt it in the fields. Joseph felt it in the pit. Moses felt it in the palace. Before the oil, there was always the exile. You weren't delayed, you were disguised. God hid you in plain sight because your becoming could not be interrupted. He allowed misunderstanding to become your covering. He permitted loneliness to become your prophecy. And yet, the most painful part wasn't being alone. It was being unseen while carrying so much. The silence between scrolls. When God hides you on purpose. There are seasons where heaven goes quiet, not because God is absent, but because He is near in a way that requires your stillness. You've prayed, but the sky stayed shut. You've asked for confirmation, but only heard the echo of your own voice. But even the echo is holy, because the silence isn't punishment. It's protocol. Before God reveals what He wrote, He silences what you trusted. He disconnects the noise. He delays the applause. He blinds the crowd, so your identity is not formed by their reaction, but by His whisper. Esther had a scroll, but first she had a year of hidden preparation. John the Baptist had a voice, but he had to cry from the wilderness, not the temple. Even Jesus disappeared from the age of 12 until 30. God is never in a rush with those He truly sends. The silence wasn't absence. It was divine surveillance. He was watching what you do when no one else saw you. If you feel forgotten, hear this now. You were not forgotten. You were reserved. Firewalkers, how pain becomes the pathway. Before God crowns, He crushes. Not to destroy you, but to extract what could not survive in your next dimension. Pain is the furnace where the mantle is formed. You've been betrayed, not because you were weak, but because you were being refined. You've lost people, not by accident, but by design. God never forges His vessels in comfort. He forges them in fire. Ask Joseph what the betrayal of his brothers prepared him for. Ask Job what the loss of everything unlocked in him. Ask Jesus what Gethsemane cost before Calvary crowned. The fire didn't come to burn you, it came to burn away what could not remain. You prayed for purpose, then wondered why your life caught flame. The deeper your pain, the heavier your scroll. And the heavier your scroll, the more sacred your silence. You weren't broken, you were baptized. And in the ashes, God wrote your name again. The danger of blending in. What happens when you refuse to walk alone? You cannot carry oil and fit in. Oil is loud in the spirit. It leaks through your smile, drips from your words, and stains your steps. And when you try to blend, heaven resists you. Many are tired, not because the enemy attacked, but because they compromised their consecration. They stayed too long at tables God already flipped. They silenced their discernment just to feel accepted. Saul blended in. David stood alone. Lot blended in. Abraham walked away. Samson blended in. And it cost him everything. Compromise is expensive. It'll cost you your vision, your voice, and your vow. You weren't called to blend. You were called to disrupt, to break cycles, to shift atmospheres, to be the contradiction. If the room feels too loud, it's because you're carrying silence from another realm. Don't negotiate your mantle just to be invited back to places you outgrew. The secret mantle. What you carry can't be shared. Yet, some assignments are too weighty for public exposure. Some anointings cannot be confirmed until they are fully formed. That's why God pulled you back. Why your phone stopped ringing. Why you kept hearing "not yet" when everything in you screamed, "I'm ready." It wasn't delay, it was incubation. There are mantles that require hiddenness, just like a seed must remain buried before it bears fruit. Elijah's mantle didn't fall until after he walked alone through wilderness and fire. Mary's womb carried the Messiah, and no one knew but heaven. You carry something sacred, and God would rather protect you than promote you prematurely. You're not being punished, you're being preserved. And when the time comes, the oil will speak for itself. Your assignment requires altitude. Everyone can't go. You're climbing now, not metaphorically, spiritually, and with altitude comes thinning, less oxygen, fewer voices, clearer vision. This is why God allowed certain people to misunderstand you, why the path you're on feels lonelier the higher you go. Not everyone is built for the summit. Not everyone can breathe where you're going. When Abraham ascended Mount Moriah, he told the others, "Stay here." Only the Son of Promise could go with him to the place of sacrifice. Some people were never meant to walk with you beyond a certain elevation. To carry out the fullness of your assignment, you must accept divine separation. You weren't abandoned. You were elevated. And the view from here requires solitude. Remnant recognition. You are not the only one, but you must walk alone. First, there comes a point when you look around and ask, "Is there anyone else like me?" And heaven answers, "Yes, but not yet." There are others, hidden in caves, buried in boardrooms, singing in silence. Elijah thought he was alone. God told him there were 7,000. But first, he had to learn to stand alone. The remnant doesn't emerge through popularity. It is revealed through perseverance. You are not the only one, but you are the one God is speaking to right now. Don't confuse invisibility with insignificance. You are not unseen. You are undercover, and the moment of recognition is coming. Echo activation. You were sent to sound the alarm. You've wondered why your voice feels heavier lately, why your prayers shake you, why your dreams feel like scrolls unfolding. It's because your walk was never just about you. It was for nations, for bloodlines, for timelines. You are a trumpet wrapped in skin. When God said walk alone, it wasn't isolation. It was activation. You carry a frequency that can't be absorbed in crowds. You carry a word that's been burning through the silence, and now heaven is pressing play. What you survived must now echo. What you learned in the silence must now awaken others. The time of hiding is lifting. The mantle is stirring. The scroll is open. Speak. Move. Release. There is a reason God didn't explain it sooner. Because if he had, you might have tried to fix what he was trying to finish. You might have held on to hands he was trying to loosen. You might have stayed in circles that could not survive the weight of your scroll. But now, you see. The walking alone was not abandonment. It was the unveiling. The quiet was not punishment. It was preparation. You weren't being emptied. You were being entrusted. You, chosen one, have walked through silence and not lost your sound. You have stood in the fire and did not fold. You have waited without answers and still believed. This is your confirmation. You were hidden, not because you were small, but because your scroll was sacred. You have been marked. You have been forged. And now you are being sent. If your spirit knows this was for you, if something deep inside you finally feels named, comment 777 below as a sacred act of agreement. Speak life in the comments. Tell us what stirred you, what broke you, what awakened you, and if you know this is your sanctuary. If you know the voice calling to you here is the one you've been waiting to hear, subscribe to Chosen One's Sanctuary and stay connected to the global remnant rising. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not alone. You are the next echo.